Well, Conesy, it's been a busy week.
It definitely has, but I think we found some time to fit in some board games.
Yes, some great board games, so stay tuned to find out what those are.
On this week's Board Games and Coffee. Welcome to Whisker Dice! Hey yo folks, I'm your host Conesy with the Most, and I am joined today by...
Hey, I'm Suzanne.
And you know what? It is time for another Board Games and Coffee.
Woo-hoo.
So, woohoo! If you want to be like all these other fine individuals that left us comments on last week's video, and by the way, you should probably check it out because there's information on how to potentially win a game from us for our 400 subscriber giveaway in that video, and there's still time to enter, so make sure you do, and check that video out now. But if you want to be like any of these individuals, leave a comment below during this video. Let us know what you're drinking while we're talking about some of these games. And what are we going to talk about today?
Well, today we are going to talk about the games that we were able to play this week and our impressions of them.
Yeah, it's been a really crazy week.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten a lot of gaming in, but we did find time for a couple of games. It means a lot to us if you take the time to do what? Smash that like button. And if you're, while you're there, subscribe. We know most of you that are watching haven't subscribed, so please do that. It really does go a long ways to help. Now, let's talk about what games we've been playing.
Yes, so I'm going to actually start off with, I think, a game that I played. Conesy has not yet.
Nope.
But one of our viewers had recommended trying out games at a game store or with your friends before you...
Coincidentally, one of our top tips for
staying under budget with your gaming.
Staying on budget being able to try out more games is to have friends. And coincidentally, we have a few friends that play games.
Yes, we have some wonderful friends that play games and wonderful friends who watch our videos but don't play games. But anyway, one game that I have had my eye on for quite a while is Apiary by Stonemaier Games. We have not pulled the trigger to purchase it because I was always a little confused on what the theme was a bit and how the game's like
space,
right.
Yeah.
And so it was like I was like, well, gosh, dang it. So we hadn't, but a great friend of ours for gaming came over and she brought her copy and taught us all how to play it. And it was a really nice gaming experience. It's a nice game. I read some of the backstory that was in the rule books, and it helped with the theme of the game for me.
So what is the theme of Apiary? Because this is, like, other than bees in space, I really don't know much about the premise. That's basically what it
is that the human race has died off.
Good job, humans.
Bees have been the triumphant species to outlast everyone.
I'm not sure how they outlasted cockroaches, but okay.
And they developed technology to travel out into outer space and seek new places that they can live and be sustained for life. So you are going out, from your hive ship, and that you can build out a bit more on there as you explore, and you're exploring planets, and you are recruiting members to your forces. You know, you're building like farms and other different tiles that you're kind of like terraforming this area. It's a lot of different theme pieces, but the basic mechanics, it's a worker placement game.
Okay, I was just going to ask what kind of mechanics
it's a worker
game.
Yeah, at its heart, it's a worker placement game. So if you enjoy worker placement games, I definitely would recommend checking it out. It is one that the unique mechanic, I guess, in it, and I'm trying to remember the other games that have this mechanic, but your worker has its strength number, and then every now and then when you recall all your pieces back to your hive, everything goes up a strength. It's simple, the simplest form. So, and then once you hit to them to be a 4, then they go into hibernation, and you get some bonuses for that, and you end up having a new bee that you can recruit that is at a level 1, and you bring it back up. It's if you played Mariposas, which is not a worker placement game, that one you're migrating butterflies, and you keep increasing them until you get to the highest level.
I'm assuming that higher level bees are more
Yes.
give you better actions, or let you resolve the actions better somehow.
And in some actions you can only take if you are a level 4 bee.
Got it.
You know, and there's resources that you're getting. You have fiber, pollen, water, wax, and honey. So that, you know, it's very bee themed. It's a nice game. There's a lot of artwork on it, but one thing I was noticing especially on the main game board, is that while there's a lot of artwork, it's still very easy to recognize what you were doing, what places you're going to, which doesn't always happen in some of the worker placement games. But
I see. So
it plays up to 5 too, which was nice.
I didn't play at that table, and it was a full 5-player game.
Yep.
But I did notice the start of the game, it sounded like you all were a bunch of very busy bees. It sounded a little silly. There was, you know, just listening to the comments and remarks and things that were being said around the table. But then I couldn't help but notice near the end of the game, or what seemed to be must have been the end of the game, is that all of the players started to get turned into angry little bees. and people were standing up, like not angry in a bad way, but like people were standing up. The intensity level had kicked up an extra level. So how does the game end?
So the game ends when all of the hibernation pods are filled, which is what triggered our end game, or one person has used all their hibernation tokens for their bees.
Okay.
Which it was getting really close. If we had gone like another turn or two, both of those conditions would have been filled.
Okay.
So, yep. So all of a sudden the game ends. You're like, oh my gosh, it's going to take forever for people to get their bees pumped up in strength and everything. Because they also pump up in strength when someone knocks them off the board and takes their spot.
Okay. So you can place where somebody else is placed, but when you do, you kick the other person off that spot, which lets them. It's kind of a freebie, because then they get to reuse that bee as well. They don't have to take an action to like recoup their workers.
Right, but you want to do that at some point. So we had one player who did very well, who hadn't, I think, only once in the game should she pull all her workers back. And then there are another couple players that were constantly pulling their bees back. So, you know, there's a lot of different paths to victory.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to call it a point salad game, because you need to do everything to get points.
What were the end scores kind of roughly around?
End scores were in the 70s, I think. They were all pretty
much
within 10 of each.
That doesn't seem like a huge point salad.
No.
Usually I think of a point salad game, I'm thinking of games that are like, you're talking about hundreds of points.
Oh, no. There's just, you have like no points, and then you get all your points in the end game scoring for the most part. And there's a lot of different places that you can gain points.
Got it.
I think towards the end of the game, when you called us our angry bees, it was a little bit, we were finally kind of understanding where we needed to go, what we needed to do. And so then we were more competitive for different spots. Mm-hmm. And for those spots to get the benefits of those before someone else did.
I see.
So, like,
I think you can tell the intensity. Like, there was a moment where everything was like, oh, cool and casual. Everybody's like, oh, cute bees, we're bees. Oh, look, I'm gonna do this and you get this in the honey pot, or this. Yeah. I'm gonna get this honey or whatever. I'm gonna get this wax, and it was all cutesy. And then it was about that last 30 minutes to 45 minutes at the table. Like we're sitting at the other table playing a different game we're going to talk about in a moment. You could just see the intensity all of a sudden around the table just kick up. Like all of a sudden people are standing and like.
And it's not that the text is really that small, but
the chatter slowed down at the table. Like all of a sudden it was less like, how's it going? You know, what's going on in your house or whatever, to intense, a little bit more quiet. Definitely this seriousness in the gameplay, as obviously the table was coming into that period of, hey, it went from rapid, hey, I can see the end of the game rapidly approaching. Yeah,
so a couple things that I thought were nice about the game itself is that the rule book, and I think it's the appendix, where it had like the linen finish on them, which, I don't know, it just feels nicer and it seems like they wear a little nicer. And then it also had a teaching guide that if you were the one teaching the game that you could reference to go through without having to go through the entire book.
Nice.
Which was really cool. I haven't seen that in many games that had that. Components were fine, were great, wooden components. One thing that we did, not have a mix up really, but had the thing that we would have changed is the wax and the honey pot are almost the same color gold.
Let's see.
So if one had been, they're different shapes, but if you're looking at the colors, they're very close in color. So, but otherwise, it's definitely a game to if you have the opportunity, I would check out the game. And if you own the game and are playing with us, I will definitely play and enjoy that game.
Excellent. So by the way, I couldn't help but realize how good the coffee is we're drinking today. So
because I made it today.
I didn't actually make the coffee or put it together. So what are we drinking today?
Well, we are drinking our Arriba from our Just Coffee. Yeah, Just Coffee Co-op. Can't think. I haven't drank my coffee yet, but I did put a touch of hazelnut flavoring in it and froth some milk to float on top for you.
I see. So it is really good. And of course, that reminds me to remind you to make sure you drop a comment below about what coffee or other beverage you're enjoying while watching this video.
Yes. So, all right. So, Conzi, while I was playing Apiary, what were you doing?
So, while you were playing
Apiary, listening to us.
Yeah. Besides that, no. So we played a game called Kutna Hora from CGE. This is a game that we noticed at Gen Con.
Yep.
And it really caught our attention. It wasn't on our radar before we saw it there. No. And that was still a prototype copy at Gen Con. It released at Essen. And absolutely, this game it's a very interesting game. It leverages a number of mechanics that are I feel are in other games.
Yeah.
But are very cleverly put together. I would not necessarily call this like an economic business game, but there's certainly elements of that in the game. It leverages cards to drive all of your actions, and basically every round it's going to be either a 5 or 6 round game, but depending on player count. And on every turn in the round, you're going to play either 2 cards or 1 card from your hand, based on how many cards you have left remaining in your hand. So the first time it comes to you, you're going to play 2 cards. Second time it comes to you, you'll play 2 cards. And the third time it comes to you, you'll play 1 card. And then that ends the round, basically. And everybody just takes turns doing that. And when you play your cards, you're going to resolve 1 action from each card. And each card has 2 different actions you can pick from. And there are 5 total different actions plus a wild card action in the game that you can that are represented on these cards. So some of those actions, you only have maybe 1 card that has that action in it. There's only 1 card that has a wild action. And actually, if you choose to use the card for the wild action, which basically counts as any other action, there's a penalty unless you've done something in the game to counter that. So there's lots of really creative ways that you're balancing, I want to do all these different actions, but you can only do so many of them. You only get 5 actions a round, so you're limited there. And the only resource you manage in the game is money. So there is while you're building the town of Kutna Hora, and you're mining these mines in Kutna Hora, because apparently this is a city of silver.
Yeah.
Yep. So that you're playing in this period where the city is being developed above the mines, and the mines are being mined for tons of silver. And so you're like, oh, hey, do I want to burn actions mining? Do I want to build spend actions buying plots so that I can then build buildings, build the rights to build buildings that I can later build. There's a number of things that you're trying to do, and all of that is so that you can take advantage of when you have to go claim more money, that you can take advantage of the income markets to the best of your advantage. So there's the various commodities like wood and ore and silver, food, and all of these commodities will vary in price based on the number of businesses that are in the town trying to sell those commodities. Like, say, if there are multiple places where you can buy food, generally the cost of food will go down. So the value of food is going down. But then as population increases, so there's more people in the town, the value of food would go up because there's more demand for food. And so it's a really interesting kind of way to, like, ooh, hey, do I want to acquire these businesses? Oh, no, that other player over there is gathering those businesses. Or, oh, hey, do I want to focus on mining? Oh, hey, well, two other players are focusing on mining, so the cost, the value for things like ore are going to go way down because there's lots of ore and silver available typically. So it's I really like the way the game plays and flows, and
it has a unique way of letting you know which and balancing out who's building which buildings.
It does, and this was my third play. You got to play it a couple of times, both at 2 and 3 players. Although our first play, we did really mess up the income phase rules, which was a major factor to the game, and definitely something that you've said, make sure you read the examples in the rule book because it's very helpful, or go watch a tutorial video, whatever the case.
The examples should really be considered the rules because
I think there's a
rules.
Little bit of lack of, like, I think what you're really kind of saying is that there's like the rules part of it wasn't always as clear as it could have been, which is, you know, honestly, I get the same feel from, like, when I read like Lost Ruins of Arnak. I feel like there's rules uncertainty from the way the rules are written and things like that. So it's not uncommon thing from CGE.
It's just, these are ones that you think it makes sense, and then you go, well, that just doesn't work.
Yeah, so make sure, you follow the examples. But and it's definitely a game that you probably, like, there are decisions that happen at the beginning of the game that until you play the game, I don't think you would be able to make an intelligent decision on, because this game is really kind of difficult to get your full head around. Like, I'm doing the initial teach, and I could tell, and there were players that hadn't played it before. I had a player that had watched, like, a tutorial video but still hadn't played it, so they weren't really sure how to make some of these initial decisions. But after you play, like, a round or two and people start seeing how everything works, it's like all of a sudden it clicks.
Yeah.
And, like, the whole game was really close. We full 4 players of it's a up to 4 player game. Our final scores, like, from last place to first place, were all within a point or 2 points, which was really cool. Like, everybody felt really good about it at the end of the game. And, like, I really like this game. Like, I played 3 plays,
a good game.
And outside of the first play when we messed up the rules, once we realized we messed up the rules, I'm like, okay, I wanted to play this game again with the rules correct. If we played it then at 3 players, like, I really like this game. It's really clever. The mechanics are really different. It plays fairly quickly, even with full 4 player count. So I did, like,
you just keep going, and it's
like.
There's
you're just when it's your turn, you're like, okay, do this, and, like, yes, the game state changes a bit before it's your turn, but because you have a limited number of actions in your hand, like, your first turn is probably the most difficult turn to pick your actions in a round, because you have your full 6 cards in your hand with a full variety of actions. Once you get down to, like, oh, hey, it's my 3rd go in a round, and I have 2 cards in my hand. Well, I only have 4 actions to pick from. It's not a lot of options.
Well, and, like, you can't build on the board until you've acquired a space and have the rights for building.
Yep.
So, if you're going to be able to do that or not.
Yes.
So, that eliminates some of the options. And I will say, both times I played, I don't think I used the Joker once.
I've definitely used the Joker a couple of times.
There's enough other options. I just didn't want to take the penalty.
He
lives in the penalty zone in that game.
I didn't this last game. I was like, I don't know what this feels like to have my reputation above 3, and this is my 3rd game. Yep. Hey, by the end of the game, I had my reputation pushed up quite a bit. But there is definitely that, like, there is definitely a learning curve, which I like about the game. And then there's plenty of different, like, how the mines get set up varies from play to play.
Oh, there's a lot of different setup choices.
Which which guilds you have, which dictates what types of buildings you can build. Also changes up from play to play randomly. So there's a lot of a lot of replayability within the game. I can see how they could potentially expand to it, but to be entirely honest, I think this is a complete game without an expansion.
And there's the extra, I guess, module that you do use when you have 2 players.
Yes.
And that you can add on if you want a little bit of an additional challenge. It's like kind of like event cards.
They are. They're basically event cards.
And you don't need them in
basically
a 3 or 4 player game.
But taxes up a lot more.
That
was the one thing I noticed when playing without them. This was the first game without them.
The taxes
generally, until we got to near the end of the game, were much less.
Yes, but it's to help in a 2-player game mitigate the fact that you don't have another player manipulating the market also with you is what it is. You know, and it's, I will say, I was not expecting too much from this game initially because when we saw the prototype, it was dark. CGE games usually have a lot of color, right? But when we got it, the box is still dark. Like it's a black and silver box, which is fitting for being the city of silver. It looks it's actually very eye-catching, I think. But it's not dark.
No, it's not.
No, it's got plenty of colors when you put it on the table.
Graphic design on it's very good too. It's
not a dark game.
Overly in your face with like. It's not Praga or Architects of the West Kingdom where there's so much art on the board that sometimes it's hard to see where the player spaces are or where the languages is. It's very, very quiet, but very graphically appropriate board.
Yeah.
The graphical choices were really good. Components are all really good. They have like the player boards are double layer, but they do come where you have to punch it all out and put it together, and they have like little sticky tape for sticking the boards together. And so far, really good. Yeah. Nothing like, but that also prevents like the warpage of those dual layer boards you see a lot of times.
And it's a special type of what are the components?
Rewood.
I keep forgetting that. Rewooded components.
Yeah, it's all the wooden components in the game are made out of rewood, which is basically recycled scrap wood. The bits.
Yeah, I mean they look cool.
Yeah, they feel it has an interesting feel. They're almost like plastic, but not quite.
It's like like wood and glue mixed together almost.
Maybe that's what they're made of. That's what rewood is.
But it's it's nice, and they have a nice wash on them.
Yeah, so colors are all good. It's very good game. Definitely recommend it. I think both of these games are games we're pretty comfortable recommending. We enjoyed a lot, and we had good plays with them.
Yes. I'll just say Kutna Hora, City of Silver, is more of a brain-bendy game to get to start and get into the first time than Apiary. Apiary, you can just, I'm just going to pick something, I'm going to go there and
It's more standard, like worker placement mechanic type stuff. You place a thing, you get the stuff. You're eventually going to need to convert the stuff into other stuff that's going to make you be able to do other things, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, but Kutna Hora, yes. Like, I am excited to play that game.
It's definitely a much different, like, how you approach the game, how it's thematically, how everything mechanically works. I would draw some, like the card selection capability with the cards in your hand. I would draw some comparisons to other games that I really like.
Yeah, I mean, I like that action selection mechanism.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But overall, it's very different than anything from a style-wise from anything else I've really played.
When you put everything together,
when you put it all together,
definitely different.
Which makes it, I think that was what everybody at the table was when we played it. Was very much like, I really like this. I want to play this again because it was a different experience than what you oftentimes get with, like, oh hey, I know what a worker placement game. I'm going to try to unlock more workers, and ultimately I'm going to place a worker. I'm going to get the stuff, and then I'm going to place a worker to convert that stuff into other stuff, so that I can do better stuff.
Yes, I will say with Kutna Hora, it's a game that everyone who's at the table really needs to be present for the game, because there are things that, the person who's active may buy a building or whatever. Well, whoever is near where the, stock market tables are, I don't know what else to call them, may need to adjust that. Or someone else may need to adjust something else. So it's not like a huge table presence, but there are different sections where, you need to be present and aware what people are doing. There's no take my turn, walk away for 5 minutes, come back.
You could,
you could.
But the turns do, I felt like the turns were fairly quick. Like, player turns were quick.
Everything was a good thing that it's
staying engaged with the game.
Everyone's staying engaged with the game.
No, there was no, major downtime between player turns. Like, it's, you play my card, I'm going to play this action, I'm going to do these things. Okay, now I'm going to play this action, I'm going to do these things. Okay, your turn. Bing, 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 bing. Okay, it's back to my turn. Okay, got it.
Yeah. And it helps with being, understand the small changes in the game state when you are actively involved in helping change it. So
while we didn't get to play a lot of games this past week,
hopefully more this next week.
Yeah, hopefully we had great coffee,
of course,
some great chat, and caught up on the games we did play. And if you have any questions for us, please leave a note in the comments below. We will try to answer them and potentially become a topic for the next Board Games and Coffee.
We'll see you next time.
Hey there, it's Conesy. Thank you so much for watching. We put out videos weekly here at Wisco Dice. Check out our channel for more great videos and don't forget to subscribe. We also have more great content on our website at wiscodice.com. Of course, we do this all for you, the viewers. So please like the video if you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.